All right, today we are digging into one of history's biggest, most expensive, and most hidden secrets, the absolutely massive world of World War II bunkers. You know, this is a global story of a war fought underground, and it all kicks off with a really strange discovery deep in a Polish forest.
So, picture this. You've got an excavation team, way out in the middle of a forest in Poland. The ground they're on, it's actually an ancient, dead volcano, totally covered in trees. And just sticking out of the ground is this one single metal pipe. That's it. It makes absolutely no sense. What in the world is that doing there?
Well, they had to find out, right? So they get a night vision camera and they start feeding it down this pipe, just lowering it deeper and deeper into total darkness. It goes down 30 meters, that's almost 100 feet, and then suddenly the camera punches through into this huge wide open space. And what they saw, well, it was unbelievable.
So here's where we're headed. We're going to follow this one single discovery to unravel the whole global story of this secret subterranean war. We'll get into why these bunkers were even built, explore the most insane defensive wall ever created, see how the Allies managed to fight back, and then try to figure out why so much of this history is still lost today.
Okay, so let's jump right back to that moment of discovery. It's March 7th, 2018, and this camera is showing them a massive man-made tunnel system 100 feet beneath the forest floor. As the little camera pans across the darkness, it lands on this incredible sight, a perfectly preserved minecart, just sitting on a railway track, completely untouched for decades.
Now here's where it gets interesting. When the local authorities show up, they aren't totally shocked. Get this, they actually brought with them a World War II-era map, a map of a bunker that had been officially lost for decades. And the tunnels on the camera feed, they matched the map perfectly. After all those years, they have finally found it.
What they found inside was literally a time capsule. There were rusted shovels, drill bits, and all these other tools just lying exactly where Nazi soldiers had dropped them 80 years ago. They found the entrance had been deliberately sealed up with huge rocks and then buried, totally erasing it from the landscape. That minecart probably means it was some kind of storage depot, just another forgotten piece of the massive Nazi war machine.
But here's the thing. This bunker in Poland was just one of thousands. During World War II, every major power went underground. It was a strategy first mastered by Hitler and then copied by the Allies. So the big question is, why? Why pour so much time, money, and effort into digging massive holes in the ground?
Well, it really boiled down to two crucial strategic purposes. On one hand, you had your defensive bunkers. These were built right on the front lines to soak up artillery fire and airstrikes, basically to stop an enemy attack cold. But then you had the other kind, offensive command bunkers. These were the secret, secure headquarters where generals and world leaders could run the war, totally safe from enemy bombs.
Now, the sheer scale of this underground war is it's hard to wrap your head around. The estimated cost of building all these bunkers, when you adjust for today's money, is a mind-blowing $1 trillion. This gigantic construction project was so resource-hungry that it actually caused global shortages of both cement and iron.
And believe me, no project was bigger or more insane than the Atlantic Wall. This was Nazi Germany's plan to turn the entire coastline of Europe into one giant, impenetrable fortress, a concrete behemoth designed to stop any Allied invasion from the sea dead in its tracks.
The scale here is it's almost silly. We're not talking about just a wall. This was a complex system of thousands of bunkers, fortresses, and giant gun batteries, stretching for 2,400 miles along the coast of occupied Europe. That's from Norway all the way down to the border of Spain.
And the human cost was just staggering. This colossal project was built in just a couple of years by a workforce of 260,000 people. And tragically, most of them were prisoners and forced laborers, essentially forced to build their own cage.
So yeah, the wall wasn't just one long barrier. It was this incredibly complex network. You had these huge artillery batteries like Longues-sur-Mer in France, giant naval fortresses in Norway guarding key shipping routes, and literally thousands of smaller bunkers in the Netherlands. It was all designed to create this deadly, overlapping crossfire against any ship or soldier that dared to approach.
So, if you're the Allies and you're staring at this concrete monster stretching for thousands of miles, you have to answer a terrifying question. How on earth do you break through it? Well, the Allies learned their lesson the hard way. The Dieppe raid in France in 1942, it was a brutal, brutal wake-up call. The German bunkers just opened up with this devastating crossfire, and the landing force was completely torn apart. It was a total catastrophe.
But it taught the Allies a vital lesson. Running straight at it was suicide. They had to get smarter. After Dieppe, they started pouring resources into totally new tactics and technologies, all designed specifically to beat these concrete forts.
And the result of all that planning and learning was an invasion force on a scale nobody had ever seen before. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, the Allies threw literally everything they had at the Atlantic Wall. Over 156,000 troops, backed up by 5,000 ships and more than 11,000 aircraft. That overwhelming force was what it finally took to punch a hole in Hitler's concrete fortress.
And you know, this whole underground war wasn't just a European thing. Not at all. In London, the British ran their entire war effort from the subterranean Churchill war rooms, safe from the German bombing raids. And over in the Pacific, Japan took a totally different approach, building these incredibly intricate tunnel networks on islands like Iwo Jima and Okinawa to launch surprise attacks and just hold out for as long as possible. Which brings us right back to that amazing discovery in Poland. If thousands of these things were built all over the world, why are so many of them still lost? How can that be?
Well, it's really a combination of deliberate secrecy and just the pure chaos of war. As Axis forces retreated, they often destroyed the entrances or were killed in battle, taking the locations of these secret spots to their graves. Any secret documents showing where they were, mostly burned. And maybe most importantly, these bunkers were designed from day one to be invisible, expertly camouflaged to just melt into the natural landscape. Hitler himself was, you could say, obsessed with bunkers. He had several of these massive personal fortresses built. You had the Eagle's Nest, his high-altitude mountain retreat, the infamous Führerbunker in Berlin where he spent his final days, and his main wartime headquarters, a place called the Wolf's Lair.
And the Wolf's Lair is just a perfect example of this camouflage. Its concrete roof was 7 meters thick, but on top of that, it was covered with soil and planted with the exact same kinds of trees that grew in the forest all around it. So if you were in an Allied spy plane flying overhead, you would have seen nothing, just an unremarkable patch of woods.
So, what's the fate of this huge underground network today? Well, it's kind of fragmented. Some bunkers, like parts of the Atlantic Wall, are preserved as historical monuments you can visit. A lot of them were destroyed after the war. Others are documented, but they're unsafe or impossible to get to. And a huge number, maybe even the majority, are still out there, just like the one in Poland, buried, forgotten, and waiting to be found.
When you really think about it, these buried secrets are so much more than just concrete and steel. They're these incredible monuments to the amazing engineering, the unbelievable cost, and the intense human drama of a world that was locked in total war. Every single one tells a story of strategy, of desperation, and of conflict.
And all of this just leaves you with one big, lingering question. If a massive, 80-year-old tunnel complex can stay completely hidden until just a few years ago, what other secrets, what other incredible stories are still buried right beneath our feet, just waiting to be found?